I'm Ephraim Smiley. I'm the manager of the Fort Wayne Urban Farm here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And people have asked me, well, how did you get into this and how long have you been farming? But I'm here to suggest that I started at a youth center doing vacant lot gardening. We reclaimed vacant lots and turned them into gardens for senior citizens. And then from there, I got laid off from Fort Wayne Community Schools, and someone asked me, said, well, we've got 2 acres and we want you to farm it. And I thought to myself, well, 2 acres, I've never had a garden that big. But it was an easy decision because I could either be poor and be hungry or be poor and have something to eat. So I chose having something to eat, so we had the big garden. What I found out there were a lot of seniors that need the produce. And so from there, I was there for 8 years doing hunger relief gardening where the seniors would actually strip the garden. In the meantime, I've taught gardening at the Fort Wayne Botanical Conservatory, organic gardening, and 35 years ago, I made the decision to be an organic gardener. I decided that using the crystal blue persuasion wasn't the way to go. That's that powder that's supposed to make everything turn big and make it grow to a humongous size. So I decided not to do that, but to learn what the plant needs to grow, to identify insects that might target the plant and do things like that. So that's what I've done over the years. I've encouraged children to read as I read about my hobby, gardening, and then I've associated myself with some pretty knowledgeable mentors like Warren and George, and that's what it's about here at the Urban Farm. I'm the great-grandson of sharecroppers from Alabama, and I think it's I visualize my great-grandmother's farmhouse down there in the middle of nowhere with all kinds of plants on the front porch. And then to see my cousins out in the fields and working, I think it goes back to my roots. We were sharecroppers on one side of my grandparents, and then the other side owned their farm, and they had trucks and tractors and everything else. So I think it's in my blood. The way I got the opportunity to farm here, we were making a transition from another large acre farm, and the gentleman that was the manager of this farm was leaving to go to Alaska, and he walked up to me one day and he said, well, the other part of the story is that the Burmese were here, Burmese immigrants, and they no longer wanted to farm. I think the ground was too hard. They discovered Indiana clay. And I guess in Burma or Thailand, wherever they came from, the ground wasn't that hard. So they gave up. And the manager walked up to me one day and he said, would you like to be the manager of the property? Would you like to farm here? And I said, well, yeah. And so that's how it started. But the real story is that Pastor Dave and I were high school friends at Elmhurst High School. And Pastor Dave was often my passenger in the 57 Chevy. I had a 57. 4-door hardtop, and Pastor Dave and his brother were often my passengers. So it was kind of like, as time went on, and then as I turned full circle and needed another property, this was available, and that's how we started. Well, what we do, we call ourselves a hunger relief operation. So basically that means that we're going to grow 75% of it and then give it away. We'll give it to food banks, we'll give it to church soup kitchens, we'll give it to senior citizens, we'll give it to those people that need it. We'll give it to if people have a challenge, they're handicapped in some way, we'll make sure that they get some of the produce. So that's what we do with it. We grow some of it, like the peas, the cow peas and the purple hull peas, Crowder peas. We don't give a lot of that away. That's a cash crop, and that provides it with sustainability. The cash crop does. Well, we grow you name it, and we've either grown it or we've tried to grow it. So basically turnips, mustards, green beans, tomatoes, 3 or 4 different varieties of tomatoes or more. We grow close to 500 tomato plants altogether. We grow broccoli, we grow cabbage, we grow some plants in the spring, we grow some in the fall, we grow some in the main season. So our main season crops amount to pepper, California bell pepper, habaneros, chili peppers, things like that. The one method that we use is called saving seeds. In fact, if you look over my shoulder here out in the field, those that's turnip greens and they've gone to seed. I'm going to collect those seeds. And I might have 25, 30 pounds of collected seed. So we'll plant that in the fall. And then we've got nurseries that make plants available to us at cost. And then there's other people who will bring plants to us. And then I've been known to grow a few plants myself. So I grow, this year I think I grew 600 tomatoes and 800 squash plants. Well, we've got a crew this year, a planting crew, and that's helped a lot. And in fact, the last 48 hours we planted 500 plants. We were trying to catch the rain that didn't rain. We're kind of trying to catch something that didn't happen. We were looking for a rain to kind of get them set in, you know. I've volunteered my sons. My sons are stepping forward, and then we got a couple of young people from high school that are volunteering with us. We are going to focus on church groups and youth groups and things like that. So the church group from a variety of churches in the area will come out and work, and they do a great job. They're only usually here an hour or so, but when they're here, they're working, and they work hard. My plan this year was to teach 100 people how to garden, and so far it's working out that way. But I tell you what, we've got a gentleman, his name is Warren, and he's an elder here at the church, and my real goal is to keep that tractor full of fuel. That's my real goal, because if I don't have that tractor full of fuel, then Warren's gonna get upset. So when he gets here in the morning, I'm making sure all the garden season that the tractor, that Oliver that we've got, has fuel in it. So that's one of my goals. The best thing about this whole thing, I talked to my doctor about a week ago, and prior to the garden season, she said all my electrolytes were out of order, and that I needed intense therapy of some kind, and that she needed specimens of different kinds because I was all out of kilter. Well, I started working in the garden, and she was happy. When I saw her the other day, my doctor was happy. She says, well, everything came out right within the parameters where they're supposed to be. And I said, well, thank you, Doc. And so she was happy, and so I was happy. Story that I can tell you about how the food is delivered, it seems like all of us that are engaged in this project deliver vegetables to people. So we call them garden angels. I do. And some unknown garden angel delivered some green beans to a Burmese family. So it's quite interesting that I get invited to dinner with a Burmese family, and they're serving green beans from the garden last year. But I know who some of the usual suspects are that make all these deliveries. They're doing a good job, though. They're making sure that those people on the southeast side of Fort Wayne that need fresh produce get it. And I commend them for doing that kind of job, because that's what we're about. We're a hunger relief project, and by God, if someone's got a need, we make sure that they get a fresh delivery of green beans or whatever we have. My long-term goal this year is to increase production, and like I said, Brother Warren will be on here in a minute talking about production, because he's a tractor driver. He's the guy that jumped on that tractor and plowed all that grass down, which enabled us to look at the field and be ready this year. See, we're ready to go. So we want to expand, and we want to use the property, the 17 acres, to its fullest, and we want to have an effect on we want to be able to deliver fresh, wholesome, naturally grown vegetables to individuals who need it. And we want to be able to do that directly without having the product sit in a warehouse. And in some cases, we want them to be eaten it that same day if they choose to. So yeah, eat it fresh. And I think that's what we're doing. It's from farm to table, but it's not the table at the restaurant, it's the table for the individuals that need it.
Well, my gardening background starts from when I was a boy, about 7 years old. I've helped have gardens, and I would say that I've been involved in gardening over 50 years in my life. I'm always interested in what's going on in my community, and I'm also interested in some of the characters I meet in my community. And when I met Ephraim and I met George, I was very intrigued with what they were doing, because I wanted to see things happen that help us to knit together as a community. And I saw that was happening. My job here is to keep the equipment going, keep it oiled and lubricated, and to try to teach some of the other people that are helping with the gardening how to use the equipment so that we can use it to the best of our ability. Also, you know, finances are limited a little bit, so we have to utilize the best way we can equipment we have, and we've rebuilt some of it, and so that it does the job real good. And so my effect is to keep the machinery working and the right ones usable. Well, one thing is to see the weeds go. But one of them is to see the different portions of ground and how they respond with the rain and so on, and try to give my input to Ephraim so that he knows how he can utilize it for the best crop. So that if it's wet, we have areas that we can work first. If it's dry, we have other areas that we can work. And also to cut some of the trees that are impeding the growth of growing things in certain areas, so that we cut down on the shade. I'm retired, but I'm not ready to stop. And I want to teach young people knowledge of gardening, farming, working with equipment that I know, because I want to be able to pass the skills on to them. And I'm involved also with mentoring 1 or 2 high school students on quite a regular basis. One exciting story was one day I had corn given to me, and I had some other vegetables, tomatoes from my garden, and I was coming over to see Ephraim to see about who might we give them to, and he was collecting vegetables for someone that was in need. And so we ended up giving a large crate or a quantity of vegetables to a needy family. And to me, that's what it's about, showing love and kindness and thoughtfulness to needy people in our community. Ephraim can attest to this. He heard the pastor over here say, we want this ground to affect this community, for them to know that we are thinking of them and what happens with the garden and being able to help them, and that it will improve our relationship with the immediate community around here.
My name is George McCowan, and I am a member of the urban farming community here in Allen County, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And the journey started for me about 10 years ago when I threw a few seeds out of the community house ministry that we had on west side of Fort Wayne, and I was in need of some garden tools. I knew nothing about planting anything. And one afternoon I went out and there were a number of garden tools under a tree. And so I gave those to some of the fellows who were boarding in the ministry house that I was overseeing, and they got out and they got busy and things started to grow. I was surprised because I never grew a thing. And later on that harvest, before the harvest season, Channel 21 came out and did a story on us. And the young lady was from Bangladesh, the news commentator, and she was so enthralled because we had some okra growing, and in her country they call them ladyfingers. And she asked if she could come out and pick some of the produce, and she did. And later on, Ephraim came by and said, "You know, I put those tools out there." I had no idea who had done it. So Ephraim and I have been, our families have been friends and acquainted down through the years. And he was in a location prior to this, and we teamed up. He said Pastor DeSelm might let us use his property. And so we've been here now, I think about 8 years or a little more on this 17 acres. And it grew, we've grown, and some things have opened up to us. I now am marketing through the Amish and with the Amish out of 2 counties here in Indiana. So collectively we have about 45 Amish families that are growing produce for us that we market from the oldest market in the city of Fort Wayne called the Southside Market. Along with that, we've had some experiences along the way, had a chance to get involved with some youth, and we began an urban 4-H project. I currently sit on the advisory board of the Allen County Purdue Extension Office. And I was able to take a few trips down to Lafayette, Indiana, and visit with the state representatives for agriculture from Purdue. And they were enthralled with what we were doing here in Fort Wayne. They came down and visited us and promised us a curriculum to start an urban 4-H work. The curriculum was completed a little bit better than a year ago. And right here at the garden site, and with Pastor DeSelm's blessing and his church, we are entitled, or not entitled, but enthralled to start an urban 4-H program through his church. So now we don't really have to ship the children in. They can walk from the church to the field and back. Some of the things that we are trying to accomplish in the community, Ephraim manages one of the largest hunger relief programs here in the city of Fort Wayne on this acreage. Down through the years, we've given literally tons of produce to the Community Harvest Food Bank. We've done a lot manually. The community has poured out over the last 4 years and provided us with tractors, with equipment. Now that they know what we're doing, God has blessed us with a senior by the name of Warren, who is a farmer from childhood and an ace mechanic. And he is keeping the machinery running with a few other men. He's taking care of our fields, and he's just an all-around good guy. Mr. Smiley was the brains behind this operation when it started. He's been in farming all of his life, and he's never left the hunger relief part. He started gardens all over the city, worked with the Burmese population for a number of years when the immigrant population started to build here in Fort Wayne, and we have settled right here on the southeast end of Fort Wayne on Tillman Road. We are pleased with what we're seeing. A lot of folks are coming out and taking part. We have a lot of volunteers in and out. A number of school youth groups come and plant and harvest and cultivate, and we couldn't be any more pleased. But we're still not getting the full use out of the 17 acres, and we're asking folks who are interested in coming out and being a part to do so. Ephraim is a master gardener. I am nowhere near that. I market. I make sure that produce gets to the market. And so if there's anything else that we would desire to do, it would be to expand the awareness of our programs here in the city of Fort Wayne. We have a wonderful host in Fellowship Missionary Church who's allowing us to use their property. The Boys and Girls Club has started a group, a charter over here at the Fellowship Missionary Church, and that is from the pool of youth that we will be pooling to start our urban 4-H chapter right here on Tillman Road. And this will be their practice field. This will be their field of experience. Warren is always asking to get me some young men. Where are the young men at? Well, we're starting to feed it in. We're starting to feed them in. And they're getting prepped right now. The Purdue Extension has provided a number of master farmers for us to come and teach the young people. Once they bring them over here and they put them in Warren and Ephraim's hands, they'll take them to another level.